Hi everybody, I hope you're doing wonderful wherever you at. I want to share today, why do we judge when we practice the same thing? It's a question that's always uh, been in my mind. How is it that sometimes we may judge people on small things and then we practice worse things? That's a question that I've always asked. Why do people judge other people when they have committed something wrong? And I've come to discover there is a reason why. I've been, living for a little bit, so I've seen it happen many times where one ministry would accuse a member or another ministry, another pastor, whatever it is, of committing an act. And then a couple of weeks later, the person who accused the other ministry or the other person also practiced the same type of thing that they accused the other person of. So, the world gives around and goes around in a circle. The world goes around in a circle. So, people judge and they forget that there's always a tomorrow. So we have to be very conscientious. But I want to get to the heart of it. Why do people judge others and be so hard on another person when they themselves are not that right? It's a justification thing. It's a justification mechanism. It's a way to justify oneself for something that one is doing personally and they know is wrong. Say the other person is lying and gets caught for lying. One person might judge this person for lying and doing all the things that were worse, and yet the person that's judging is also lying and is also stealing. In other words, they're doing what you're doing, but to justify yourself and not to feel guilty, you pass sentence on another person, which that sentence should fall on you. So you justify yourself to make your conscience feel good. See, because your conscience knows when you're doing something wrong. Your heart knows it. Your mind knows it. You're doing something wrong. You know it's wrong. So what occurs is that when another person falls, whether you see them in the news media, you see it on the headline, this person robbed this bank and this and this and this, and this person whatever, and we feel justified and we feel good when we pass a sentence on another person. We pass a sentence on another person which we know that we deserve that sentence. It's all a conscience thing. It's a relief of condemnation when a person passes judgment on another and they're committing the same sin. It's a relief of condemnation. But because you pass sentence on another person, that doesn't mean that you're right. That doesn't mean that you're off the hook. It's just a feeling, an emotion. When we come to see in the Bible what Jesus talks about, we see the story of how people judge people, and Jesus says, why do you judge the little speck, tiny little speck in your brother's eye when you have something big? I have something here. which is real tiny. But if I were to hold it up to the camera, it looks large. Am I right? But in reality, it's so tiny. Meanwhile, Jesus is saying, why do you judge the tiny little thing? Because in your eye, it looks big. That tiny little thing looks big in your eye. But in your eye, you have something greater. You have this in your eye. And because you have this in your eye, you have one eye that you have this difficulty, but then your other eye is looking at this little thing. See? So Jesus is saying, you're looking at this little thing. Meanwhile, your vision has this big thing. So I have another example here. My glasses right here, I had two sides. You see the two sides? One is dirty and one is clean. If I were to put it here, see it's dirty. If I put this here, see it's clean. When we come to see that the problem with judging other people is the way we see it in the vision. It's how you see it. It's how you perceive it. How do you perceive the other person? You may say, oh, that person did something bad, so you feel good, justify yourself. There was a story, don't want to name the preacher, but you probably heard it, but I want to share it with you today. There was a minister who gave a story, and he spoke about a woman who washed her dishes by hand, and then her neighbor in the backyard had washed her blankets, and she hanged the blankets on a clothesline. And the woman will see that her neighbor blankets were never clean, they were always dirty. She finished washing them, and she got upset because she would see that her neighbor did not wash her blankets correctly. Well, this went on for months, and finally one Sunday, she was looking out the window washing the dishes, and she sees that the blankets that the lady was extending were white, they were clean, and she got surprised. Her husband was there sitting eating breakfast, and she mentioned to the husband how the neighbors finally learned how to clean the blankets, and the husband said, you know, what's so funny is that I had washed our windows yesterday. So the problem was, it wasn't the lady's blankets that were dirty, it was the vision, what was looking out, the perspective. Jesus says that the light of the body is the eye. The eyes are the windows. So when you see somebody doing something, when you yourself do it, what you see them doing is looking through the eyes, and going through the mind, and going through the heart. But remember, there's always another saying that when you point, you have three fingers coming to you, and you have one finger pointing up to God, and the other one just pointing one. Crazy little example, but I want to say that sometimes also judging another person, putting another person down, will make us feel better and will help us feel more up. So that's one example. Jesus himself gave a perfect example about the Good Samaritan. Here's another situation where people will judge when a person is down. There was a Levite, a rabbi, and these priests, these people who were so religious, and there was a man who was down of their own, did not go to them, did not offer any help, but judged this man, walked on by, prideful, when they should have been helping. But instead, they allowed the man to die because of their image. That's another Reason why people judge because of their image. They want to feel better. And when you sin and they judge you, it makes them feel better. But I don't believe that any human being is a stepping stone, and I don't believe in having myself being stepped on and I don't step on anybody else. And so what I have learned was this, is that I have to have compassion. I have to have love and understanding. I can't just beat somebody down just to make myself feel good, or beat somebody else down just to pacify my sin. I still have a situation I got to deal with. Now, I'm not going to name any sins, but like I have known that today could be you who are fallen, and tomorrow could be me. But if I see you fall today, I'm not going to give my opinion on why you fell. If not, I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to pray for you that God will restore you, that God will help you, because I may just be dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with. We have it all the time. I am very careful with religious people. I'm very careful with news media. I'm very careful with politics. I'm careful with people who speak in general. I minister, and I base my ministry on the mercy of my Lord and how God shares with me mercy. But I don't want to leave the idea of what am I speaking on today, and what I am speaking on today. Why do we judge when we practice the same thing? We got to come down to certain things to help us understand. First, personally, we have to admit that we have a problem. Sometimes we will judge a person, his condition, and not realizing that, hey, you have a problem too. Second, don't judge too quick. Don't judge too quick. Only God sees the heart. And only God can judge right. Only God can judge right. Only God knows the truth. Only God knows what's inside of the other person's heart. So we should not judge too quick. And then we should judge ourselves first. If there's anybody who we need to criticize, it's us first. If there's anybody who needs to change, it's us first. And then fourth, you should have compassion. Consider yourself. Have mercy. Pray. I think that's what God would love, right? So we come to see that why people judge is because it is a justification mechanism. It is to relieve ourselves from any condemnation. So I hope these small nuggets or just these comments will help you to understand why people judge other people when they themselves practice sin. Be blessed. Stay encouraged. If you like what you're hearing, give it a like. If not, give it a dislike. If you would like to join, welcome. If not, thank you for viewing. I hope you're doing well. Remember, pray for one another. Amen. Be blessed.